In a world where nothing makes sense, listen as Dre and Ron try to do just that. Welcome to Augmented Reality.
Well, I think the intro is very fitting right now. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, nothing makes sense. And as we try to, during this podcast, we're going to try to, I guess, make sense of it. You know what I'm saying? Make sense of the nonsense.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, right? It's going to be a difficult task, but I think we're up to it. You know, it's we're living in dark times.
Yeah. Like we was prepping a podcast about the Avery case, and then all hell broke loose.
Yeah. We were prepping a podcast for the Ahmaud Arbery, and next thing we know, George Floyd happened, Breonna Taylor happened, and it was like, oh snap! And then we kind of just took a pause on it just to kind of see what was going to happen and what kind of things were going to transpire in the world, not just the city, the world. You know, it's a sad day in America. It's a sad day on Earth. You know what I'm saying? It's sad times we're living in. You know, and here just yesterday, I know I'm dating the podcast. It's something we agreed that we would never do, but we're gonna drop this podcast rather fast. And just yesterday, a man of color, a black man, was shot because he was sleeping in a Wendy's parking lot by a cop. You know, I mean, he didn't get shot because he was sleeping in the Wendy's parking lot, but you know, they assumed that he was drunk. I've listened to the CNN interview today, press conference today, and witnesses say there was no sobriety test. You know, and the man somehow got a hold of the officer's taser. He went running. They chased after him and they shot him in the back. You know, these are the times that we're living in, man. And you know what? We usually start this off with grinding of the gears, man. And I just think that this whole episode will be pretty much a grinding of the gears. Grinding of the gears, meat, potatoes, all of that stuff, man. So you know what? Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it.
You know what really grinds my gears? You, America. Fuck you!
And, like, what's interesting to me is, like, the conversation could be so much better around this, around the protests, around the looting, around all of the demonstrations. It's like it got to a crescendo, and then it looked like we plateaued. It's still going on, and then another incident happened. Or you start researching one incident and you find out information on another, more than what you knew. Like I was watching the Sandra Bland documentary, and I found out information that I had never known, that all they were going to do was charge the officer with perjury for lying about why he initially arrested her. And that charge even got dropped. And her family had to settle for $1.9 million because after their independent autopsy was done, which was done late, and some key facts were not able to be ascertained because they didn't allow them to do the autopsy in a timely manner. So they really couldn't pin down her exact time of death. They never found any fingerprints on the garbage bag she supposedly used to kill herself. But then when you watch hours of tape, you never see anyone go in the room. So, I mean, all of this is just, you would think one incident after another, after another, after another, that's what caused the protests and the looting, is people started getting fed up. But then next in 4 or 5 days, it started becoming business as normal again. And that's what really grinds my gears, that we have not enough follow through, dude. Like, I thought that this time might be it. I mean, people are still out protesting daily, but it's not the same numbers. It's not carrying the same cachet, I feel. I don't know.
Well, so let me interrupt you for a second. So we can't say it's business as usual, because this is the first time where they're actually talking about police reform At first, they were calling it defunding the police, which to me is completely idiotic. Because if you defund the police and you don't allow these police officers to kind of just do their jobs, who's going to protect, the people who can't protect themselves? Yes, the police are there to protect and serve, and right now we're living in a time where it seems like they're only protecting and serve a certain demographic. It's protect and serve everyone except black people. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know where you stand on that, but that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying?
I'm more so like, I always, and we talked about this way back when we first started doing this. Drew corrected both of us, our friend Drew, when I used to always say everybody or this group of people. It's not all of them. So we can never put everybody in one bubble, even if you belong to a particular group. I'm of the mindset of, I agree there needs to be reform, and it doesn't look like they're serving us or they're protecting us. But at the same time, I noticed that the same ones that are complaining about this will be the first ones to use these services when it's beneficial to them. And that's my biggest problem with everything in the world. You can't be hypocritical. You have some people in lower income communities that call the fire services or police officers more than anybody else. Like, I listened to the scanner on the first night, and some of the calls I was hearing were ridiculous. But go ahead.
So you guys had a situation in Chicago, right? Where the Latin Kings started attacking black people or people who were protesting. And the cops kind of backed off of that neighborhood and said, okay, well, they're policing their own people. We're going to back off. To me, that was a mistake. You know what I'm saying? First off, Hispanic people, Mexican, Dominican, Puerto Rican, whatever you are, black people are not your enemy. Let me say that again. Black people are not your enemy. And I never understood the racial divide between brown and black. I don't understand it. Don't understand it for the life of me. But anyway, getting back to the Chicago thing. So, and I read an article on this, and what it said was like the Latin Kings were attacking these people, and the police kind of backed off and were like, okay, bet, we're gonna let you guys handle that. So what happened was, I guess the OGs in the neighborhood, the community leaders, stepped in and were like, wait, hold on. You know what I'm saying? This can't happen. And even it's a bad idea for the community as well to let the Latin Kings come in there and protect the neighborhood. And I'll tell you why, right? And you might disagree, but follow me. You let the Latin Kings protect the neighborhood and the police back off. What do you think you're going to create? You're going to create a mob mentality where now you're going to have the Latin Kings can possibly extort the people who can't protect themselves. And they can be like, well, you know what? You need protection. You're going to pay us for it. And if you don't pay us for it, we're going to ruin your shit. We're going to tear your stuff up. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you could possibly be creating. You know what I'm saying? What you think?
So I agree with your end point, what the potential that can create. But I think the story got twisted by the time it reached LA out to you. It was more so of when the looting and stuff got real bad, the Latin Kings united and was like, we're going to protect our communities. And if any of you knuckleheads in this community are going to try to destroy stuff, you got to go through us. It wasn't necessarily that they were attacking blacks. They were protecting businesses in their community. They were trying to do what gangs were trying to do in the 70s. That's how the initial reports came out. But, of course, as the news starts to stretch and the further west it get, the further east it get, it's like, yeah, the Latin Kings are attacking blacks. Well, no, because that ain't going to do nothing but start another gang war. It was more so like, this is a race war, right? A bigger race war.
Right.
And so it's like, I agree that shouldn't have been allowed, even though it might have been in good intention, but it shouldn't have been allowed because, like you said, at the end of the day, once things calm down, it's gonna be like a mob mentality.
Yeah.
So I mean, all of this. I listened to a police scanner in a white neighborhood on the second night. I want to say that Monday after the initial riots and looting, and this was in the suburb of Chicago, and all the suburban businesses shut down at like 3 p.m. that day because the rioters and looters had tore up a mall and was starting to head west to these white malls. And so they shut down the whole community. All of them, like 3, 4, 5, 6 towns was shutting down all their businesses at 3 o'clock. It was all kind of alerts being put out. My nephew notified our family because he's a firefighter and the fire chief. And I'm listening to the police scanner, and all you hear is white people calling in. There's a black man in a mask. There's a black man by a garbage can. He's wearing a mask. And the first thing I thought was, aren't we supposed to be wearing masks? It's COVID-19, you know? And then it continued for days after the situation started to calm down. The violent part of the situation started to calm down. And you could hear one officer over the scanner say, I wish all of these people would stop calling in on every black person they see. Which is, I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts on that is.
But that last thing that you just said was gonna be my exact point. You know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, like you said, we're supposed to be wearing masks. And the fact is that it's so easy for white people to be like, yo, that black person is committing a crime. Which is how you got the barbecue lady, you got the lady, the bird watcher lady, you got, you know what I'm saying? They call for no reason. It's just like they call because you're black. You know what I'm saying? I saw a video a couple of weeks ago. This guy was he was in a swimming pool with his son. He was helping his friends move in. And the lady the lady came to the pool and was like, yo, who are you here with? Like, yo, lady, I'm relaxing in the pool with my son. It's only us two in the pool. And the guy even said, you know what? Hey, go get on your swimsuit. Come join us. You know what I'm saying? Now, he could have said, he didn't have to say that. But still, the thing is, it's like he was doing no one any harm. You know what I'm saying? Black people do no one any harm. And it's like, yo, it's like a crime just to be black. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy. We're in 2020. You know what I'm saying? We're in 2020, goddamn, and it's a crime to be black. You know what I'm saying?
The problem is that crime has always existed, but now it's being magnified because we have our social media. We have our country's leader who is he has not handled the situation well at all.
But he hasn't handled any situation as far as like community relations well at all. The way he handled North Korea, boom, thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? Thumbs up the way you handled that. Some of the things that President Trump is doing, I agree with. You know what I'm saying? But it's some things that he say, hey, bro, just shut your damn mouth. Somebody take his cell phone away from him. Keep this man off of Twitter because now you don't know, because you have a thing where you can create a tweet under somebody's name and post it on the internet, and, you know. But now you don't know what's real and what's not because this dude says stuff so outlandish, bro. And it's like, what in the world is wrong with this dude? You know what I'm saying?
Like that becomes twofold. Two things you said that are creating this problem and making it worse than it is.
Mm-hmm.
The Central Park Karen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got these white women that are, or not even just white women, you got people who are not black calling police officers on black men in the tone and the verbiage you use to describe your situation is arming the cops before they get on the scene.
Yep.
The Central Park Karen told the cop, she told the guy, I'm gonna tell him that an African American man is attacking me. He's threatening me.
Yep.
And what is the cop gonna do when he hears that? He's gonna come out guns drawn.
Guns drawn.
And then you add on our leader who should be trying to galvanize our country at a time like this. We're dealing with a pandemic. Race relations are at a boiling point. Like, we're at the brink of having a major race war. And he's putting out insensitive tweets. He's blaming, he's victim shaming. Like, what do we got to do, man? Like, and you know me, you know my stance on all of this stuff. I always say every time one of these incidents come up, I try to get all the facts, and then I always go back to the point that we got to clean our own house first. But at some point, you just get angry, you know.
Absolutely. Which is why, we, man, and it's crazy because we've had extensive conversations. You, myself, our mutual friends, we've had extensive conversations for the last 2 weeks where we've talked about this day in, day out, and it's been like hour-long conversations. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. We have to police ourselves. We had a podcast on this. You know what I'm saying? Before we point the finger at anybody else, we have to look at ourselves first. And when I say look at ourselves, I mean the Black community. We talked about that before. The only thing is that yes, there is a high rate of Black on Black crime. But when Tyrone kills James, Tyrone goes to jail. You know what I'm saying?
Or the case goes unsolved.
Right, or the case goes unsolved. And we talked about this with our homeboy Terrence, and we talked about this, and he brought us the numbers. He said 70% of the Black on Black crime goes unsolved, but it's that other 30% where they're convicted. And we understand why 70% goes unsolved, because the hood doesn't snitch. You know what I'm saying? The hood doesn't snitch. The hood doesn't talk to the police. We don't deal with the police. And this is the very reason why we don't deal with the police. You know what I'm saying? Because the systematic racism is so rampant in this country that you can have a Black person committed for the same crime as a white person. That white dude is going to get probation. That Black dude is going to get the maximum time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a man who was just shot for shooting a police officer's taser at him, right? But you got the dude who ran in the church and killed 9 people, and the police officer stopped and get his man Burger King. You have a white dude that goes in the movie theater in Colorado, shoots up the movie theater, and they take him into custody.
Yeah, and he's sitting in the interview room eating snacks, drinking pop,
Exactly. So
like he
what I'm
stole some
saying,
from the candy store.
but when it comes to Black men, when it comes to Black people in general, it's a certain aggressiveness. You know what I'm saying? Like the force, the excessive force is so unreal. I've seen videos where police officers will approach a white man carrying an AR-15 and know how to de-escalate the situation. But somehow you approach a man who's drunk in his car or sleep in his car, and the end result is that man being shot in the back while he's running away from your taser. Or you have a handcuffed man on the ground crying out for his mother for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And the end result is that he's dead. You had him handcuffed, bro.
Yeah.
So yeah, at what point does this dumbass realize that, hey man, I could be killing this dude? It wasn't about that. It wasn't about that, because his actions were so vindictive that he should be charged with second-degree murder. And it should be hit with the maximum fine or maximum time.
I seen I know you don't like when I bring up Oprah, but she did like a town hall special, and one of the guys pointed out something in the video of the George Floyd case that I had not even paid attention to. He pointed out, well, first a black woman on the panel pointed out that where she from, she had seen hunters sit on deer on their neck in the same positioning until the life leaves out of a deer after they killed it, after they shot it and it hasn't completely died. And then the guy said the part that got him, it wasn't just the hands in his pocket, it was the effortlessness of him taking his life because the sunglasses on the top of his head didn't even move. It was like there was no struggle from Floyd. If you watch, and when you watch the video again, you see that like this man couldn't. He was completely defenseless. The sunglasses on this idiot's head was not moving as he's on his neck for 8 minutes 46 seconds with his hands in his fucking pocket.
Right.
Yeah, that angers me. That angers me, and that makes me lose the sense of, all right, well, maybe we don't have to clean up our house first, you know. But then you bring up the case in Atlanta. And I tried to get a guy the benefit of the doubt, and I watched the video 3 or 4 times, and you were correct. He did fire the officer's taser at him. But as you said, if that had been a white suspect, they would have caught up to him, tased him, and they'd be like, hey, you want to go to Wendy's to get something? And then we'll take you down to the station. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't end up dead. Like, the thing that gets me is that I'm elated and I'm saddened and I'm angered at the fact that of the response of the youth, right? There's moments when I'm excited about their response. There's moments that angers me. We had the conversation the first weekends when the riots and lootings were out of control. And the young guy that we were talking to, he was asking if we need a new leader and somebody needs to step up and be a leader. We walk away from our conversation and come back, and he's in an argument with another white guy in the conversation, and we can't even calm him down. It takes us 5-10 minutes to calm him down. And I'm like, this is why no leader is able to step up and control this, because you're so filled with anger over everything that when someone tries to tell you the right way to approach things, you just lose it. It's like they flip a switch and go into another zone. So who are you going to listen to? Eventually he calmed down and understood. But what we're saying, it comes with maturity. I remember being a young hothead. I've had my head knocked against a police car repeatedly because my friend was urinating on the wall in Louisiana. I asked the cop, is he going to jail? Because I need his car keys so I can pick him up. The cop forgot all about my friend and was mad at me because I asked him a simple question that needed an answer. You know, like,
Right. So
what do we do, man? You
so
got young sons. You got young sons. Like, I'm angry. I don't have any kids. I'm angry at our response as a people because you see shimmering light. You see a light at the end of the tunnel. You see hope, and then you have another incident, or you hear the following weekend in Chicago they shooting at each other again. Why are we not? Why? How did you forget that quick? You know, that's the part that gets me.
so you have to understand the fact that when you have these protests, people are just out there protesting. They don't really have the best interests of the people at heart. You know, and it's sad. It's very sad because we are in a situation where this could affect the next two generations of black people, of brown people. It doesn't matter who the fuck, what color you are, but this could affect you for the next two generations. And we're at a time where I forgot who said it, but what he said was when white people start turning on each other behind this systematic racism stuff, a page is going to turn. But in order for things to change, we need to have the white folks on board. They need to understand that this shit is not cool. And thank God that we have social media now, because what we will still be hearing is, oh man, get over it. As 50 years ago, America is paying reparations for situations we had nothing to do with. The Holocaust, you know what I'm saying? And then white people are also mad. I know I'm jumping around here, but white people were mad because black folks, whoever it was burning these cities down. And I had one statement that shut them up. I said, yo, we built this country for free. We burn this shit down if we want to. We built this shit for free. Can't tell me we can't burn this shit down. We burn this shit down if we want to. I don't agree with the looting. The police station.
We actually went into debt building this country.
Exactly.
We lost our identities. We lost our sense of community. Our families were separated.
Lost
we
our
were beaten.
language.
We were killed.
Yep.
Lost our language. Lost our religion. We lost everything. We went into debt building this country.
So let me ask you this. Because Terrence and I we talked the other day, and we kind of had this conversation. And he brought up the fact. He said, "Man, there were 12 million slaves taken from Africa, right? Roughly 12 million slaves." He said about 2 million died on the transit, right?
Okay.
How many slaves do you actually think touched American soil?
Probably not even 50%. They were shipped out elsewhere as well.
Right. You got you got South America, you got Haiti, Dominican Republic, you got all those Spanish-owned lands, right? So the number that he told me, I said my guess was a couple 100,000. And what he said was, 300,000. 300,000 slaves touched American soil. You know where the largest population of African slaves were?
Where is that?
South America. Brazil. The largest population of African slaves is in Brazil. You know they get shitted on in Brazil, right?
Yeah.
They get treated like second class, like third class citizens. Same thing in Mexico. And what's crazy is that a black man liberated Mexico from the Spanish. And they still hate us. So I say again, my Hispanic people, black people are not your enemies. We in this shit together. We didn't steal this land from y'all. You know what I'm saying? We didn't steal this land from Mexicans, bro.
Right.
this. Yeah,
and it's hard for me because I have plenty of white friends, and I've grown up. Like I've been racially profiled. I've grew up in where I was discriminated against, where I was the only black in my class for like 4 years, where when I went to high school, because my parents were able to afford the education, they sent me to a school where in high school it was maybe 6% blacks. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I know what it feels like. And it was interesting that in one of Sandra Bland's Sandy talks, she said that. She said, to my white friends, I know you want to sympathize with us and you think that for those that always say that we blame racism on everything, she was like, it's a feeling. You might not be able to see it, but it's a feeling. And it got me to thinking. It's like us as men, right? You know how women say they have mother's intuition that something was going to happen? Like, I believe in that. And racism is the same way. As a black person, you just feel when something racially wrong is about to happen to you, or when you're in that situation where you're being judged because of who you are.
And what's crazy is that not everybody has that feeling. Not everybody can experience that feeling, because some people, unfortunately, man, they think that, people, man, I don't even know the lady's name, but it was a black lady.
I'm trying to get her name right now because I know who you're about to talk about, and I want to choke this woman. Go ahead.
No, that's not who I'm talking about. So there
Okay, go ahead.
was a group of, I want to say, 7 to 9 women. One black woman in this group. It was a sleepover, a girls' night, whatever it was. They beat that black woman to death. They took turns beating this woman. I wish I had the article, bro. I wish I had the article. I can tell you, man, when I saw it the other day, I was appalled. She didn't know it was coming. Because the last picture they took was her. They were all on the couch together. They were all smiling. And then that night, they beat this black woman to death. For what? Where does your racism stem from? What is the root of your racism? I don't understand.
It's a learned behavior, dude. And
For
people
sure.
want to say that after the segregation era and the civil rights movement, that race relations changed. No, a lot of those people are still living. A lot of those people have kids, grandkids, and great grandkids. That type of hatred is so deeply embedded that it takes more than 2-3 generations to get rid of. Like,
Yep.
and I'm not just saying it's white people. There's black people who have racist tendencies. Like, that's what made the show The Jeffersons one of the greatest shows of all times. Because if you think about it, George Jefferson was a racist himself.
Yeah, he was.
Right? And that was the first time that America was able to see a quote unquote black racist. But the difference is, and here's the biggest problem with it: power. Right?
Mm-hmm.
George Jefferson had money, but he didn't have power that elevated his racism. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
These white people have the system behind them, they have the police behind them, and they're protected. So yes, if you're still a racist white person, it's only because you accept that white privilege and you know that you're gonna get away with some things. I just was informed today about this protest in Seattle called the country of Chaz.
Yeah, they call it a block party.
Yeah. They said they got guns, so the police haven't done anything for the fear that they're weaponized. You know, but let black people during these protests that came out there with guns in states where it was legal, we'd be talking about mass murder. They already were shooting them with rubber bullets just so the president can walk and hold the Bible upside down and take a picture.
Oh my God!
You know, it's like
that was a clusterfuck. Can't believe he did that, bro. And you know, I was just talking to my parents today about that, man, and I said, yo, he does. And my mom brought up a great point. I was like, yo, because she asked me, she's like, what's wrong with him? I was like, he doesn't have the right table right. Well, Bob said, my mom said, well, that's because he fired everybody.
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, it is so true, man. That shit is like that shit is like musical chairs in the White House.
He still thinks he's the host of The Apprentice. And the White House is his job.
And I told my mom that. I said, yo, you have to, what you have to understand about Donald Trump is he's not a politician. He's not a politician. He never was. That man was a businessman first. It's the bottom line. And he's running the country like it's The Apprentice. Yes, the country was doing well. The economy was booming. Unemployment in the black community was at an all-time low. But the fact of the matter is he's running this country like a reality TV show.
But if you think about it, though, like I heard a political analyst say this: any first-term administration is either going to be at the detriment of the previous one, or you're going to get the windfall of the previous one. Those numbers didn't happen overnight. That economic turn has started to swing
when Obama left office. Absolutely.
When Obama left office.
I'm not giving Donald Trump all the credit. Not giving him all the credit. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
A lot of that has to do with Barack Obama.
Exactly. But I mean, and speaking of which, this is what's hilarious to me. Politics aside, right? And I've told you this numerous times in the last couple of weeks, right? George W. Bush, I didn't really dig his politics because I thought he was part of Skull and Bones and the Halliburton projects and all of that. I knew he had some underhanded stuff. If you know the history of the Bush family, his great grandfather was one of the first people to supply money for the World Bank. So their hands are dirty. If you look up the Bushes got their hands in world shit for centuries. So anyway, but when 9/11 happened, that was the first time when he came out and addressed the nation the first time, even after looking stupid in the elementary school in Florida where he was sitting there and didn't respond right away and kept reading Curious George. It was like, what the hell wrong with our president? He looked remedial. But then he came out that night to address the country, and he looked like a president for the first time to me. He addressed the nation. He was concise. He spoke with dignity, and he galvanized the country. So everybody should have just like dropped the politics aside. Like, hey, we are at war. That is an act of war. What's the first thing you want to do in war? You want to make your first attack and then attack their defenses. When they hit the Pentagon, that was a declaration of war. You know? And George Bush looked presidential. And during the pandemic and this racial uprising, Donald Trump has not had 1 second of looking presidential. Whereas Barack Obama puts out a minute and 20-second public service announcement, and everybody take a moment back and be like, man, all right, let me take a deep breath. You see what I'm saying? Like,
that's because Barack Obama was charismatic. You know what I'm saying? He had a way with words. Donald Trump doesn't have a way with words, as we can see.
But it's not even that. It's like you said, he got to have a team. Somebody got to tell you, don't tweet a racist quote from the 60s about when the looting start, the shooting start. No matter how relevant it is, you know the connotation that is wrapped up in that. You don't say that. It's certain things.
Yeah, it's certain things you don't say. And I was actually about to bring that up. Like, man, this dude, he's something else. You know what I'm saying? And it all goes back to the whole take this dude's phone away from him. You know what I'm saying? But it's been proven. We have photographic evidence that his dad was KKK. You know what I'm saying? His dad took pictures with, what are they, Grand Marshals? You know what I'm saying? Whatever the head dude of the cake. Yeah, Grand Wizards. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has Ku Klux Klan's ties. But speaking of the Ku Klux Klan, there's been a, I guess, petition to deem them as a terrorist group. What do you think about that?
You talk about them and that group, Antifa.
Yeah.
I think that's him trying to save face a little bit, but in the back of his mind, he like, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Like, I heard, I watched that Spike Lee new movie, Five Bloods or whatever, the Five Bloods.
I want to check that out. I saw it on Netflix. I want to check it out.
Yeah. And one of the guys said, Netflix, yes, sir. One of the guys said that the only time that the National Rifle Association was against every citizen being able to carry a gun was when the Black Panthers stormed the Capitol in LA. Yep. That was the only time they was anti-gun.
Yeah.
You know, like we've seen it in Charlotte where those radicals had guns out there and the police did nothing. We have protests here that were peaceful and the police were shooting tear gas and rubber bullets at people. It's like, my thing is, when are people going to wake up? Like, I try to live by one simple rule, dude. like, I'm not overly religious. I went to private school, Catholic school all my life. I know I have Baptist churches on my dad's side, so I know plenty of religion. You know, I know about Muslims. I have Muslim friends, and I know about that. My thing is, there's one rule that everybody should try to live by: the golden rule. If I don't want somebody to walk up and smack me in my face, why would I walk up and do that to somebody else? Do unto others as you
As you
want them
want
to do
them.
unto you.
Yeah, it's a nice
I
rule to
always
live
said
by.
that. Like, if you think about in our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times you see on the news when one of these guys, a gang member or whatever, quote unquote, I'll use the media's term, thug, go shoots up another thug. They be like, man, oh my mama, I get him back. If somebody did something to my mama, man, I swear, man. Well, if you take that 3 seconds and say, this dude stepped on my shoes, how would his mama feel if I shoot him right now? How would my mama feel if I miss shooting him and he shoot me back and I'm dead? All you gotta do is take that 3 seconds and you realize that whatever your dispute was petty. You know, or there's gotta be another way to solve this dispute. You know, like if it's about territory and selling drugs and all of that, why don't you unite and become a professional drug company like the pharmaceutical agency?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, dude. It's so disheartening, it's frustrating, it's angering. Like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm angry at myself because I feel like I should be doing more, but I'm not gonna go out and be uh I'm I'm not gonna go out and just be out to be out if my voice isn't gonna be heard and I know change isn't gonna come from this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, what more can we do? I rather, and I've said this to you before, I'd rather have one-on-one conversations with people and hopefully they can see we can come to some common ground. And then maybe they'll take that conversation, what they learn from it, onto another person and it spreads that way. It only takes one person to start change, you know, because once you get into a group mentality, the loudest voice in that group usually becomes the leader, whether they're right or they're wrong.
Right.
You know, whereas if you could reach people on an individual level and start spreading your message and letting it grow from there, like plant one seed, you could you could feed a family for years off of one seed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Plant one seed, man, and that's what
So
I hope our podcast does, man. Just plant one. You might not agree with anything we say, but you hear one thing that be like, maybe
they got a point.
that's enough. That's a seed.
Right. So let's switch gears for a second here. Because something happened a couple years ago that's come back up here lately, right? And that something is Colin Kaepernick protesting police brutality, America not treating their veterans right. And he was vilified for it. He was blackballed out of the league. You know, he's missed out on millions of dollars on top of millions. And like I said, he was blackballed. How do you feel about the NFL stance on that now?
I think it's all a bunch of billionaires trying to save their investments. That's what it is. They had too many opportunities over the past 4 years to come to a aha moment and be like, maybe he wasn't doing all that bad. Now all of a sudden, the fact that it's a national focus on not an athlete kneeling, on the potential for a race war exploding, you have to protect your asset. If you're in the NFL, if you're an NFL owner or an NBA owner,
Protect the shield.
you know about exactly, but you know about 75% of your players are black in the NFL and NBA. So what are you gonna do? You don't want to say the wrong thing and upset the ones that's bringing you in this money. So you gon' that's why, and I will say this. I really think, like, if you look back at those old interviews, I think Roger Goodell's hands was tied. I really think he wanted to
Absolutely.
do more.
Absolutely.
I mean, because if you remember, Jerry Jones denied to sign his contract extension a few years ago. He was the only owner to deny it. And guess who hasn't spoke out on this?
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones. So that's why I say it's all a dog and pony show, man. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Well,
what do you feel about Drew Brees' comments? The situation surrounding Drew Brees right now.
Exactly. So that's a complicated issue because Drew Brees, I can't even talk because it got me fired up. Drew Brees did so much for New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, right? He continues to do things for New Orleans,
absolutely,
and the people of New Orleans, right? But here's where I become conflicted. For one, what were you doing the last 4 years? Were you just completely not paying attention to this issue? Was it so far off of your radar that you weren't aware of all of the points that Kaepernick was trying to make, and you this isn't just speaking out of turn, right? This was an embedded belief that he had, right? And in my opinion, he should have been more informed on it, right? But here's something else that gets me.
Well, it's like the situation with LeBron James in China. You know what I'm saying? These athletes are misinformed. These dudes are not politicians, so you can't expect, they're training day in, day out, so you can't expect them to be up on the political views. You can't expect them to be up on the political issues, the community problems. You know what I'm saying?
But that's not a political issue, Dre. Because there was memos sent out about you can do this. It's been 4 years. If you kneel, you could be suspended or fined.
Right.
If you he knew about it.
So let's talk about Drew Brees. If you kneel, you can be suspended or fined. So what is Drew Brees? First, when I say Drew Brees, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Drew Brees?
White boy quarterback, Sean Payton, New
Orleans
Saints.
Poster boy. You know, he's straight line, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's a clean cut, straight line. He does what he's supposed to do. Right. And if he would have spoke with Colin Kaepernick and said, you know what, man, Colin Kaepernick is absolutely right, he would have been on the opposite side of the fence.
Right. But that was the point I was getting to, right? Is the fact that I don't think he deserves a pass, right? And like I've heard analysts say, in order to get past this, keep spending your money. You know what I'm saying? Stop talking and keep doing. Keep opening that checkbook. Because had it been a black athlete, and we had a whole podcast about this, Michael Vick could not be an honorary captain at the fucking Pro Bowl for some shit he did, paid his debt to society lost millions of dollars for.
Millions.
And you can't. And he can't. And within 2 days, you issue 6 apologies as Drew Brees, and now everybody's just supposed to forgive him.
No. So I guess your stance on it is he needs to open up his checkbook. He doesn't get a pass. That's your stance?
My stance is I'm willing to give him a pass if he continues to do the work that we know he has done, right? And he educates himself before speaking out. And one thing I was going to say is it was different. This was not all politics, right? Because the league was issuing memos about this. So he had plenty of time to do some research on this, right? I don't know. So I wouldn't mind, but I'm conflicted because if it was a black athlete in the same position, he would not be afforded the same opportunity. He would be canceled. point blank simple canceled.
And we've seen that. But Michael Vick was given a second chance.
Barely.
Kobe Bryant was given a second chance. Ray Lewis was given a second chance. So who are we to say that Drew Brees doesn't deserve a second chance?
And that's
Only thing we can do is be like, okay, we'll hold you at your word. You say you understand now, you want to be more educated, for sure, we'll hold you at your word. We'll hold you to it. So what we have to do is we have to hold these players accountable. What surprised me was Tom Brady signing that petition. That's what surprised me. Tom Brady jumping on board.
That's bullshit.
You
That's
think
just
so?
trying to. That's just. Tom Brady is a very intelligent man, dude.
Very.
That's him trying to ingratiate himself with this new city and town. Tampa has a large population of black people.
Right, but he's also coming from a town which is voted top 5 racist in America.
Exactly. So what does that do? What do you got to do?
So
you got to get out in front of it and say, "I'm not from that racist town. I'm with you, brothers."
But we don't know what his. You know what I'm saying? He could actually be like, "Yo, hey, I feel y'all." You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't able to say nothing before because of where I live, my geographical location, but I feel y'all. You know, I spoke out against it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's no secret that every time a player of color goes to Boston, they get called nigga.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Adam Jones. We had a podcast about this with Adam Jones.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Adam Jones sick. Yo, he was in Fenway Park and they called him a nigga. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I thought about the
Torrey
other day?
Hunter just said that.
Yep. Torrey Hunter said it. Gary Sheffield said it. You know what I'm saying? And you know what's crazy? Is because, you know, we do this baseball tour, my family and I. And the other day I was thinking, I was like, damn, bro, do I really want to go to Fenway? Do I really want to take my kids to Fenway? How would I react if I get to Fenway and someone calls myself or my kids a nigger? What is my reaction? Do I keep watching the game? Do I speak out against it? Knowing damn well that it's going to be me versus however many fans is in that section that agree with the European.
That mentality.
You know what I'm saying? So how do I
got
react
a point
that?
to that. I got a point to that. Have
Go
you
ahead.
had a talk with your sons about racism and about what's going on?
I've been having that racism talk since my kids could hold a conversation.
Exactly. So, you love baseball, your sons love baseball, right? Yeah. They have to know, and I know you've educated them on the history of baseball. Mm-hmm. This is what Jackie Robinson has went through. This is what Hank Aaron went through when he was chasing the home run record. Yep. This is part of the reason why Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame, because he didn't get in front of them and kiss the media's ass. Yep. So, you love baseball. I would love to go to Fenway. And because I know how to deal with that situation, I know I'm outnumbered. I just came to see the ball game, man.
Yeah, and I just came to see the ball game. I just want to see the ball game. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we will also stay.
You shouldn't have to do that.
I shouldn't have to do that, right? I should be able to go to the game and enjoy the game. But at the same time, you know, because we like to see the city. So you know what I'm saying? So in me knowing that Boston is a top 5 racist town, you know, it's like, I know not everyone in Boston is racist. I know that. That goes from everywhere. But at the same token, I know it's possible. That, you know what I'm saying, I could be in Boston, we could be driving to a museum, a monument to see something impressive or something that we've never seen before, and I get pulled over. And is it a George? Am I next? Do people protest in my name?
I got you. I'll hold you down, dog.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's not even a joke.
Yeah.
Let me follow up on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me follow up that. That's not a joke, because I've said this to people. And remind me, I want to get back to the Tom Brady comment.
Mm-hmm.
I have a white friend who is Polish, and she has 2 mixed children, Polish and Mexican. And she asked me when these riots and lootings were going on to come and talk to her kids, because she was fearful that they might have to deal with this because of their last name. I'm like, the problem is they're not going to have to deal with it because, for the most part, they can pass because of their skin color is lighter.
Right.
They're not brown, right?
Right.
So, and I say that to say, like, if something was to happen to you, I'm definitely, I said it in a joking manner, but I'm riding because I know the man you are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I know exactly the man that you are. So I'll be the first one out in front. And that's what I've been telling people. And that's what I tried to express to her kids. I was like, the perfect example is you guys have known me for years. With all of this that's going on right now, if I walk out the door and a cop kills me,
you're
gonna know that it was not justified because you know who I am.
Right. You know my character.
Exactly.
You know my character.
Exactly.
And you know, and I tell this to everyone. I said, dog, you know, I'm not racist. I don't base my views on skin color. I don't base it on your ethnicity. When I hate people because you have displayed a certain character flaw that I don't mess with. I hate character flaws, although I have them as well. You know what I'm saying? But
we all do.
We all have character flaws, but it's just some character flaws I can't get over. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing. Everybody have, and a lot of people mix racism with prejudice, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different thing. We all have prejudices, right? There's something you're prejudiced against. Like, I don't like bananas. You know what I'm saying? Or, but it's how you act upon that can cause it to become racist.
Yep.
Or, you know what I'm saying? So, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know where we go from here. Like, my point that I was trying to make earlier is I should be the most racist black man in this world. But you know what I did? Like from 4th grade through 8th grade, like I told you, I was the only black in my class. I got called nigger plenty of times. I had a basketball coach allowed me to come to He allowed me to come to practice early to whoop this one white boy's ass because he was constantly picking on me, and he heard him call me a nigger. The coach told my dad, like, bring your son to practice early. He got something to handle.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he was telling me to teach that boy a lesson because the seed was being planted in me then how to handle this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to fight because I knew if I fought him in school, I was the one going to get in trouble.
Yep.
You know? So it's like, and then I dealt with it. My story, I swear, it should be after school special. I dealt with it in high school, man. I had a teacher that I dealt with that was racist. You know, I ended up with the highest grade in his class, but yet he said I was the biggest troublemaker in his class. And you should see the look on the face of the school board like, well, that's an oxymoron.
Right.
You know, so it's like, and this is at a young age, dude. When I graduated from when I graduated from elementary school, they didn't have a valedictorian for the fear that it would have been me. They didn't name one. They were like, oh, we're not going to do a valedictorian speech this year. We're just going to sing an extra song. You know why? Because it was me and a white girl that was the top 2 in the class. And based on our last test, would have determined who was the valedictorian was. And if you have a valedictorian, exactly. And if you have a valedictorian speech, you got to have a salutatorian speech.
Right.
So I was going, and they didn't know what I would say.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But I've grown past that, man. Like you said, I don't hate all white people. I love everybody equally until you prove to me that I shouldn't. You know, I go out of my way to be nice to everyone just for that reason. Because I have been judged without somebody knowing who I am.
Well, not everyone. Because I can name one person that you hate. But
No, I actually don't hate her. I just hate some of her stance on certain things. Like we just butt heads, and
yeah,
I've
for
been
sure.
civil since.
Yeah,
You know, it's
I
like
would
and
agree. I would agree.
you know, and I like I said, I've grown. You know, as a young, I used to want to solve every problem with my fist as well, dude. Like now, I tell people I don't want to break a nail. I
Right.
just got a manicure.
So
You know
stay,
what I'm
stay,
saying? Like,
staying on the sports thing. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Bubba Wallace, the only black NASCAR driver, full-time NASCAR driver, um, who just competed in a race. I think last week he had a Black Lives Matter car, and since then he has been an advocate for banning the Confederate flag at NASCAR, which NASCAR just banned the Confederate flag from all events. They're saying, "Hey, we don't care. You can have your beliefs. You can fly it if you want to, but just not here." His stance on it was he didn't want anyone to be able to come to the NASCAR events and feel uncomfortable by the Confederate flags. Do you agree or disagree with the Confederate flag being banned at NASCAR?
I agree. And it was funny because there's another unknown driver that said he's retiring
Yes.
after this season because it's infringing on people's rights.
He
And I
doesn't.
heard an analyst, I can't think of his name, and I heard an analyst says that that when you see that flag, it brings up so much negative history about our country that it's infringing on more rights than the few that still want to fly it. Like, and there was they they were taking down statues in London of people that they found to have ties to slavery. Great leaders in London. I can't think of any of the names right now, but during the protests and riots in the last couple of weeks, they were pulling down statues. They found out some guy was a child molester, and they were going after his statue next. It's crazy. Like this issue is starting to become a world issue. It's not just in America, right? And like, I don't know. And let me get back on Tom Brady real quick because I want to talk to you about potential solutions, which is something we've been talking about for the past 3 weeks, right?
Right, and just for the record, the NASCAR driver that you were referring to earlier, his name was Ray Cicerelli. He's 50 years old, American nationality from Ellicott City, Maryland. You know, he's saying that basically what NASCAR are doing is fucking over one group to cater to another.
Exactly.
Yeah, so but go ahead.
My point about Tom Brady, real quick, is isn't this the same situation that Michael Jordan was in? Like Jordan said, Republicans buy Nike too.
Yes, he did.
It's the same thing with Tom Brady, except now Tom Brady has to say something. This is too like, and you notice that Michael Jordan has came out and donated $100 million from the Jordan brand
Yep.
over the next 10
Over the
years.
next 10 years.
And I think, and I bring that up because I think some of the backlash he got for not being vocal on some of these issues during that Last Dance docu-series has forced his hand.
Yep,
Or
forced
it
his
made him
hand.
open his eye.
Yep,
Or it
backed
made
him
him
into
open
a
his
corner.
eyes.
I,
Yeah.
I, I wouldn't say it opened his eyes. I think he's always had that. He's always had that underlying, like, man, I need the support, but it's always been protect the legacy. I need
Right.
to
Well,
protect my legacy. Yeah, for sure.
I meant open the eyes more
Yeah,
so as in fuck
he.
that.
Yeah, I need to say
I
something.
gotta go. I
Yeah,
gotta say something.
but
Right.
see, the Jordan brand is so big right now. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that outside of killing someone or molesting some kids or raping some women, I think that nothing he can do right now would affect his brand. Aside from those three things that I just named, I think those are the only three things that ruin him. You know what I'm saying? And fingers crossed. Hopefully nothing comes out. But anyway, so go ahead.
Before we get into potential solutions, man, we
Mm-hmm.
forgot to bring up our the Aubrey with the Aubrey
Oh
incident,
man,
which was what made us pause on doing the podcast as we were doing research, and we were like, we need to bring up all of the cases and all of
yeah,
them. That situation, all three of them, I believe, should go to jail. The guy that filmed it and the father and son, right?
well, they are bringing all three of them up on charges.
Right, but initially the guy that so-called was
Filmed it.
he was just filmed it. His lawyer was on TV saying no, he was just a concerned citizen. No, he wasn't, because they have communications with him between him and the father and son.
Mm-hmm.
Like that right there shows you, and I'm using this as a segue to lead into the possible solutions.
Okay.
It shows you the lack of respect, or not even respect, the lack of value that some people hold for a black man. Like, they have no respect for this man. They had no proof that he had broken in garages. He was just out for a job.
Right.
Like, they just completely cared not. They went like a militia. It reminded me of the movie Surviving the Game. You remember that movie with Ice-T?
Yeah, it was a witch hunt.
Yeah, exactly. Like he had a scarlet letter on his chest. Like, go get him. It's saddening, man. Like, what do we do? How do we, like, my problem with all of this, and I stress this all the time, is as we start talking about potential solutions, I get tired of talking about potential solutions, because one day they say everybody put a black post on your Facebook page, and then the next day you're free to talk about the twerk video you seen, or the cat video you seen, or where is our follow through, dude? We should not be at this level after everybody rolled for Trayvon Martin, Philando Cruz, uh, Eric Gardner, uh, all of them. And why is it that we have gotten to this point now when we should have been at this point after the first one? We should have been at this point after Rodney King. After Rodney King, none of this has happened. That was the first time we had video evidence after the civil rights movement of what the cops were doing to our black people, our black men especially. And then, if that didn't outrage you enough, when they killed Sandra Bland, one of our black women, or put her in a situation where she potentially killed herself, that should have outraged us, because as men, we should want to protect our women. So my point is, me and you sitting here discussing possible solutions is only going to make me more angry, because I know as soon as we finish, if this reaches somebody, that same person will be like, man, you should listen to this episode of this podcast. And then the next post they put up be like, man, look at this person at the club. Like, we so short-sighted, man. Like, let's solve this problem. We shouldn't have to hear this anymore. There's no way we should have heard about the guy in Atlanta after everything that went on the last 2 weeks. Like, that's the part that sickens me, man.
Yeah, and that's facts. That's facts. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's a lot of things going on. I heard Joe Biden. He said some crazy stuff. My guy has said he said George Floyd's death is more impactful than Martin Luther King.
Wow.
Yeah, like I'm appalled by this stuff. The Ahmaud Arbery. You talk about solution. The only solution to this is exercise your Second Amendment right. Know your rights. Protect yourself. Protect your family. You know what I'm saying? Learn how to interact with police officers. They say that, even police officers are disgusted by this George Floyd incident. But the problem is, and they also say, "Oh man, we're not all bad." The problem with the police officers, or the problem is that yes, you are not all bad. I don't believe you are all bastards, like Antifa says. I have my dad worked for the sheriff's department for 27 years. My cousin and my wife's cousin currently work for police officers. They're currently police officers. I don't believe all police officers are bad. My problem is that the good police officers are not outing the bad ones. You know what I'm saying? Like they're
That's
allowing
what I
the
was
bad
gonna.
ones. They're allowing the bad ones to continue to get away with this nonsense, this excessive force. Because you can't sit here and tell me that the good police officers haven't seen any bad shit, haven't seen these bad officers do some crazy shit.
So real quick, a question to that point: isn't that the same thing we do in our community? So how can we hold them accountable for standing up to the bad officers when we in our community don't stand up to these bad idiots that's giving us a bad name? It's the same fucking thing. It's the
You're
same
right.
thing.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So what needs
Like in
to?
the David Chappelle special, when he talked about the black guy, Dorner, that went on the killing spree against
Yeah.
cops. That was military trained. They sent 400 cops to kill that man.
Yep.
You
They
know what I'm
did.
saying?
They did.
That's the only
Have you read his manifest?
No, I have not read it all.
Man, I think I still got it. But I'll send it to you. But yeah, I agree, man. You know that at some point we
I
have
don't.
to do something.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I agree with the Second Amendment, right? But I don't think that's the solution because there's guns out there already, and now
You
you're
know,
just giving them another reason.
so peep this out. I'm a firm believer, and I've said this in the chat. I'm a firm believer in open carry. Allow everyone to open carry. You know what I'm saying? I honestly believe that the crime rate will go down. You know, you wouldn't have the bullshit that you have now. I mean, because to be honest with you, if I was allowed to open carry, if I saw some stupid shit going down in front of me, like somebody committing a crime or harming someone, I would be more inclined to act if I knew I had the protection. If I knew I had protection of an open carry or whatnot. So I don't know, man. This country is
But then
going.
you turn us into the Wild Wild West again.
Well, I
Because you're
mean,
still gonna have bad guys,
yeah, you will. You will still have bad
and
guys.
you're still gonna have innocent people hurt, harmed, and killed. You're gonna have good Samaritans killed who or still gonna be cases of mistaken identity. We got to get to the root of the problem, right? I think one of the solutions has to be, and I've heard other people say this as I've been watching uh, psychologists and people speak on this. We have to have an open discussion about racism, right? A open, honest. What is your fear, right?
But you can't have an open, honest discussion about racism when when a third of your population doesn't recognize it. You know what I'm saying?
They recognize it, but they don't want to accept it
Well,
because
yeah,
it would
that
infringe
too.
on their white privilege.
That too.
You like, but see, you can. That's why I say you got to start. You got to start in small pockets. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Small groups of people where they feel comfortable. Where it's comfortable to say what you want to say and how you feel. Why do you feel? Why do you fear every black man? And one of the biggest culprits of this is women, white women. They fear the black man. They either rile up they buddy, the guy who wants to sleep with them, or they brother, or or the cops now
Emmett
to
Till.
go after this. Yeah, exactly. You lie, you fabricate truths, and with these white men having a lack of respect for black men as it is, now you just threw fuel on the fire. Now they ready to ride or die.
Right.
You know, like,
and the crazy thing is that lady admitted on her deathbed that she lied about the Emmett Till situation.
Yeah. And again, why does it take reoccurrence of the same thing before we start to really make a change? And I tell you this, like, everything in this world is based on a cycle, right? The earth revolves around the axis on 360 degrees, which means every year is coming back around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that has happened is coming back around. Things in your life that has happened to your parents is happening to you. That's not a coincidence, man. So until you break that cycle, until you realize these patterns and break that cycle, it's never going to change. Like, I don't know. And I'm not just, and I blame our black women at some point too, because you sit back and you degrade the black man, you know, you vilify some of the black men, and then you condone some of the actions of the black men, which allow them to continue to do these actions.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get with him, have a baby with him. Now he ain't shit.
It's funny how that works, ain't it?
And it's a cycle, because guess what? Where was your dad at?
Yeah.
Same cycle happened probably with your mom. Your mom loved him because he was on the corner, and you thought he was a Black Panther, but he was just a radical. He do some dumb shit. You forgive him. He knock you up, and now he ain't shit.
And
so that's a learned behavior.
And leaves you stuck with an 18-year sickness to deal with by yourself.
Exactly. And then put some of the blame on our black men as well.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go. You're not trying to do better. You want to sit back and blame the man for everything you do.
Right.
You want to act like an idiot and think you're going to have a quality woman. You have a baby with her. You don't provide for it. You don't, stand by it, help nurture it, help raise it. So everything it's more than one issue, dude.
Speaking of which, I got a news flash and I have an update for you. I have 11 months of child support left. Oh, I can't.
Congratulations.
I see the finish line.
So yeah, I don't know, man. Like I don't know if you can hear it in me, man. I'm like,
yeah,
I want to know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Like all my life, I've been very analytical.
The issue is that we want to know the answer, but until we see active change, we'll never know if the answer that we seek is right for this country, is right for this world. You know what I'm saying? We have to see active change in order to move forward. And until we see active change, we can't move forward. We'll be stuck in the same day-to-day bullshit that we see. You know, people don't believe in the judicial system. It doesn't work for black people. It's not for black people unless you're OJ. You know what I'm saying? That's the only time it's gonna work for you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And OJ said, "I'm not black. I'm OJ." Okay, well, okay. You know what I'm saying? Not every black person can say it. You know, so yeah.
I got something to say because I know we getting long winded and we probably have to have another episode on this because things aren't getting any better.
Yeah, I'm down.
I got one thing to say. In the social media era, everyone loves a good challenge, right? I'm issuing this challenge to you and anybody that's listening. Go get in a group of 2 or 3 people who you think have opposing ideas of you and just have an open, honest conversation. And when I say that, and let me give you the basis of this, like have a debate. Once emotions start to get involved, take a break, step away, and then come back and start over. Because there's a difference between debate and arguing. A debate is 2 or more people exchanging opposing the views. and presenting facts for their argument. And an argument in that case is used as a statement.
Mm-hmm.
An argument, on the other hand, is a debate or discussion where you inject emotions and feeling into it, where no one will be heard because you're too emotional to hear objectively. And everything is being misconstrued or not heard at all. So I challenge everybody, get in a small group, 2, 3, 4 people, and just have an open, honest conversation, man. And see, I just wanted, and maybe you don't have, at the end of it, you don't have to agree with the person. I don't agree with you all the time. But guess what?
Right.
At the end of the day, we can come back a couple days later like, man, remember when you said such and such? I've been thinking about it. I understand what you're saying.
Right.
You know? So, on that note, man, I don't know, I think I'm starting to get emotional.
Well, you know what? Let's do a part 2. Let's do a part 2. We can bring some people on.
Yes, sir.
We'll talk to a couple people, and maybe we can start that challenge here, where we can get people on. We can decide, or we can talk about change. You know what I'm saying? How are we going to effectively try to get this change going? You know what I'm saying? So let's look into that. You know what I'm saying? And I'll put some fillers out there. You know, I would love to get my my cousin who's LAPD. I would love to get him on here. I'll reach out to him and I'll talk to him. You know, and see how it goes.
All right, man.
All right.
As always, it's been a pleasure, brother.
As always.
We tried to make sense out of nonsense, but
I still feel like it's nonsense.
Nothing makes sense, man.
Nothing makes sense.
Until next time.
Yep. Be safe.
Yes, sir. Wear your mask, even if you're black.
You've been listening to Dre and Ron's Augmented Reality.